The unexpected arrival. The ship, SS Discovery, roared through the blackness of space, its engines glowing brightly. Inside, the crew was a mix of humans and aliens, all excited about their mission. They were explorers, set to discover a new world. Alex, a young human scientist, sat in his seat, gazing out the window. He could see the planet coming closer. It was a beautiful sight. Blue oceans, green forests, and towering mountains. But the computer warned them. Dangerous life forms detected. The captain, an experienced alien named Zora, was focused on the controls. Her skin shimmered like silver, and her eyes glowed softly. "Prepare for descent, everyone," she announced. "We need to study this planet, but we must be cautious. It is a death world, known for its dangerous creatures." The crew nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. Alex's heart raced. He had read about death worlds. They were planets filled with fierce life forms that would do anything to survive. He could hardly believe he was about to set foot on one. As the ship descended, the beautiful landscape transformed into jagged mountains and dark, swirling clouds. The ship shook violently. Alarms blared as the crew struggled to hold on. Zara shouted, "Brace for impact." Alex gripped his seat tightly. The ship tilted to the side and suddenly lurched downward. The view outside became a blur of green and brown. A moment later, there was a deafening crash, and everything went black. When Alex opened his eyes, he found himself lying on the cold ground. He felt dizzy and disoriented. Slowly, he pushed himself up and looked around. The ship was in pieces, smoke rising into the air. The once majestic SS Discovery was now a wreck. "Is everyone okay?" he shouted. His voice echoed in the eerie silence. One by one, the crew members emerged from the wreckage. Zara was the first to stand, brushing off the debris. "We're alive, but we need to move," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. Alex looked at the others. They were shaken but alive. Together, they gathered their supplies, trying to salvage what they could from the wreck. They had to find shelter and figure out what to do next. As they moved away from the wreckage, the environment was unlike anything Alex had seen before. Giant trees towered overhead, their leaves shimmering in colors he couldn't name. Strange flowers bloomed in vibrant hues, while unusual sounds echoed through the air. Birds with bright, feathered wings darted among the branches, their calls sounding like music. Yet there was an unsettling feeling. "Stay close, everyone," Zara instructed. "We don't know what we're dealing with here." Alex glanced around, his senses heightened. Every rustle in the bushes made his heart race. They stepped carefully, moving away from the wreck, but the beauty of the place made it hard to forget the danger. After a few hours of walking, they came upon a clearing with a small stream running through it. The water was clear, and the air smelled fresh. "This looks like a good spot to rest," Zara said, her eyes scanning the area. "We need to think of a plan." They set up a makeshift camp, gathering branches and leaves for shelter. As they worked, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. He glanced around, trying to catch a glimpse of whatever might be lurking in the shadows. Once the camp was ready, they gathered around the stream. Alex took a deep breath, trying to calm his nerves. "We need to contact the home base," he said. "They need to know we're here." Zara nodded. "We'll need to find the communication device. It may be in the wreckage. But first, we need to ensure our safety. Let's explore a bit and gather information about this planet." As night fell, the sounds of the death world intensified. Strange creatures howled in the distance, and the air felt thick with tension. Alex couldn't help but feel a wave of fear wash over him. He had read about the dangers of death worlds, but experiencing it was something else entirely. "Get some rest," Zara ordered, her tone firm. "Tomorrow, we'll look for the wreckage and gather supplies. Remember, we need to stick together." "We need to regroup," she said, glancing back at the wreckage. "But we can't stay here. That creature won't give up easily." Just then, A shout echoed from across the clearing. "Over here!" It was Mia, one of the other crew members. She waved her arms frantically, motioning for them to come. Alex and Zara hurried over to where Mia was standing, near what appeared to be the remains of the ship's cargo bay. Other crew members were gathered around her, looking anxious. "I found the communication device," Mia exclaimed, holding up a battered but still intact piece of equipment. The crew erupted in cheers, a wave of relief washing over them. "Let's set it up quickly," Zara said, her voice steady. "We need to get a signal out before that creature comes back." They quickly gathered around Mia as she began to connect the device. Alex watched her work, his heart racing again. With each moment that passed, he felt the weight of their situation pressing down on him. Come on, Mia muttered, fiddling with the wires. Suddenly, the device beeped, and a small screen flickered to life. "I think it's working." Zara leaned closer, her eyes scanning the screen. "We need to send a distress signal. If anyone's out there, we need to let them know we're alive." Mia typed furiously, sending out their coordinates and a message. The tension in the air was palpable. "Sending. Now," she announced. Just as she hit send, the growl of the creature returned, louder than before. Alex's heart dropped as he looked back toward the wreckage. The massive beast was stalking toward them, its eyes locked on their position. "Everyone, move," Zora commanded. "We have to get to the trees." With the creature hot on their trail, the crew dashed toward the dense forest. Alex could hear the ground shaking as the beast charged behind them. They dodged between trees, their breath coming in quick gasps. "Keep going," Zora shouted. "Don't stop until we're safe." As they reached the cover of the trees, the creature paused, its massive form standing at the edge of the clearing. It roared, the sound echoing through the forest, sending a shockwave of fear through Alex. But they had to keep moving. They had survived the crash, and now they needed to survive this Deathworld. As they ran deeper into the forest, Alex realized that this was only the beginning of their adventure. They were stranded on a dangerous planet, and they would have to rely on each other to make it out alive. Into the wilderness. After escaping the creature, Alex and the crew found themselves deep in the heart of the forest. The canopy of leaves above them formed a thick barrier, filtering the sunlight and casting dappled shadows on the ground. Every sound, from the rustling leaves to distant animal calls, heightened their senses. They were now truly in a wild and dangerous land. Zara led the group, her eyes scanning the surroundings. "We need to find a safe place to hide and regroup. The creature might have lost us for now, but it will be back." The crew nodded, following closely behind. Alex felt a mix of fear and excitement. They were on an alien world, and even though it was dangerous, he couldn't shake the feeling of wonder. The trees were unlike any he had seen before, with twisted trunks and bright, colorful flowers. But he reminded himself that beauty could be deceptive in this place. After several minutes of walking, they came across a large hollow tree that appeared to be a good hiding spot. It was tall and wide enough to provide cover for all of them. "Let's go inside," Zora suggested. "We can rest and think about our next move." The crew squeezed into the hollow trunk, taking a moment to catch their breath. Inside, the air was cool, and the walls of the tree were surprisingly smooth. It felt safe, but Alex knew they couldn't stay here for long. "Do you think that creature will follow us?" Maya asked, her voice trembling slightly. "It might," Zora replied, her expression serious. "But we can't panic. We need to plan what to do next." As they settled in, Alex looked around at his fellow crew members. They were a mix of emotions: fear, determination, and a sense of camaraderie that hadn't been there before. They were all in this together. "Okay, let's assess our situation," Zara said, taking charge. "We have the communication device, but it's not going to work without power. We need to find a way to recharge it or power it up somehow." "Maybe we can use the ship's power cells," Alex suggested. "They should still be nearby in the wreckage. If we can get them, we might be able to connect them to the device." "That's a good idea," Zara replied, nodding. "But we have to be careful. We don't know what else is lurking around here." "Do you think we could make it back to the wreck?" Maya asked, biting her lip. "We'll have to split up," Zara decided. "Some of us can go back to the wreck to retrieve the power cells while others stay here to keep watch. That way, if something goes wrong, we won't all be in danger at once." Alex felt a knot in his stomach. The idea of splitting up was risky, but he knew it was necessary. "I'll go with you," he said to Zara. "I can help you carry the cells back." "Okay, let's organize who stays and who goes," Zara replied. "Mia, can you and Jason stay here? Keep an eye out for any danger." Mia nodded, looking determined. "We'll be careful." "Great. We'll head out then," Zara said. She turned to Alex. "Let's move quickly but quietly." They slipped out of the hollow tree, the sunlight streaming in through the leaves above. The forest was alive with sounds, but they couldn't afford to be distracted. They moved cautiously, keeping an eye out for any signs of the creature that had chased them earlier. As they approached the wreckage site, Alex's heart raced. "What if it's still here?" he whispered, glancing around anxiously. Zara placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We'll be quick. Just stick close to me." When they reached the crash site, they found it just as they had left it, scattered pieces of metal and equipment, some of it still smoldering. The air was thick with the scent of burnt wires and oil. "Look for the power cells," Zara instructed. "They should be located near the engine compartment." They worked quickly, rummaging through the debris. Alex pushed aside metal scraps, focusing on finding anything that looked like a power cell. His heart sank when he saw the state of their ship. It had been their home, and now lay in ruins. "Here," Zara shouted, her voice breaking through his thoughts. She had found a power cell, still intact and glowing faintly. "Great job," Alex exclaimed, rushing over to help her. They carefully lifted the cell, feeling its weight in their hands. It would provide the power they needed, but they had to find more. They continued searching, Alex feeling a sense of urgency. He didn't want to linger too long. After a few more minutes of searching, they managed to find 2 more cells. "Let's get back," Zara urged, glancing around nervously. "We can't stay here." As they began to head back through the forest, Alex felt a strange sensation in the air. It was as if the forest itself was watching them. Every shadow seemed to move, and he couldn't shake the feeling that they were being followed. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed behind them. Alex spun around, his heart racing. The creature had returned. It was barreling through the trees, its eyes locked on them. "Run," Zara shouted, and they both took off, their feet pounding against the ground. Alex felt the adrenaline surge through him as they sprinted back toward the hollow tree. The creature's growls filled the air, growing louder as it chased them. They dodged between trees, desperately trying to put distance between themselves and the monstrous beast. "We can't let it catch us," Alex yelled, glancing back to see the creature gaining ground. They pushed harder, fear propelling them forward. Alex's lungs burned, but he couldn't stop. They were almost back to the hollow tree when he stumbled over a root, falling to the ground. "Alex," Zara yelled, turning back to help him. He scrambled to his feet, but the creature was right behind them now. It lunged forward, snapping its jaws just inches from Alex. "Go," he shouted to Zara, urging her to run. "I'll hold it off." "No, we stick together," Zara insisted, grabbing his arm and pulling him forward. With one last burst of energy, they dashed toward the hollow tree, the creature close on their heels. They could hear its heavy breathing, feel the ground shake beneath them. As they reached the safety of the tree, Zara quickly ushered Alex inside. They tumbled into the hollow trunk just as the creature reached them, slamming into the outside with a loud crash. Breathless and shaking, Alex and Zara pressed their backs against the tree's walls, listening as the creature prowled around outside. It growled and snarled, clearly frustrated. "What do we do now?" Alex whispered, feeling panic rising within him. Zora glanced at the power cells they had retrieved. "We wait for it to leave. Then we try to power up the communication device. We need to signal for help." "Will it leave?" Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "It has to," Zora replied. "It can't stay here forever. We'll just have to be patient." As they waited, Alex's mind raced. They were stranded on a dangerous planet, hunted by a fearsome creature, and time was running out. But he knew they had to stay strong. Together, they would find a way to survive. The plan of action. Inside the hollow tree, Alex and Zora pressed against the smooth bark, their hearts pounding in unison with the growls of the creature outside. They could feel the vibrations of its movements, a reminder of how close they were to danger. The sound of its claws scraping against the wood made Alex shudder. They needed a plan. "We can't stay here forever," Alex whispered, glancing at Zora, who was deep in thought. "I know," she replied, biting her lip. "But we need to wait until it leaves. If we try to escape now, it will catch us for sure." The creature prowled around the tree, its growls echoing through the air. Each sound sent chills down Alex's spine. He knew they couldn't remain trapped for long, and they had to find a way to get the power cells to the communication device. "How long do you think it will take?" Alex asked, trying to remain calm. "It's hard to say," Zora said. "It might get bored and move on, or it could decide to keep searching. We just have to stay quiet and wait." As the minutes passed, Alex's mind raced with thoughts of survival. They needed to make a signal, to reach out for help. He turned to Zora, who was peering out of a small opening in the tree. "Do you think the power cells will work with the communication device?" he asked. "They should," she replied. "But we need to get to the wreck and set it up properly. I just hope we can make it back without the creature catching us again." "What if we create a distraction?" Alex suggested. "Something to draw it away from the tree while we escape." Zora looked thoughtful. "That could work, but we'll need something loud. If we can create a noise far enough away, it might go after it instead of us." Alex's mind began to race with ideas. He remembered some of the debris they had left behind. What about the metal pieces from the ship? If we hit them together or throw them, they could make a loud noise. "Good thinking," Zora replied, a spark of hope lighting up her eyes. "We'll have to be quick, though. I'll create the noise while you grab the power cells. Then we run back to the hollow tree." They both took a deep breath, steeling themselves for the dangerous plan. The creature continued to snarl outside, and Alex knew they needed to act fast. "Okay, let's do this," Zora said, determination etched on her face. "On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. With that, Zora slipped out of the hollow tree, moving quietly but quickly toward the nearest pile of wreckage. Alex followed closely behind, his heart racing. He could feel the tension in the air, the danger lurking just beyond the tree. Zora crouched down, searching for metal scraps. She found a few pieces of twisted metal and held them tightly. Alex nodded at her, signaling that he would grab the power cells while she created the distraction. He dashed toward the wreck, moving silently but quickly. He found the power cells they had collected earlier, each one glowing faintly, and his heart raced with anticipation. They had a chance. Just as he was about to turn back, he heard a loud crash from behind him. Zora had thrown the metal pieces, creating a cacophony of noise that echoed through the forest. The creature roared, its growls turning into frenzied snarls. "Go, Alex," Zora shouted. "Now." He grabbed the power cells and sprinted back toward the hollow tree. The creature was distracted, moving in the direction of the noise, but Alex didn't dare look back. He could feel the adrenaline pumping through his veins as he raced back to safety. Zora was already waiting at the tree, her eyes wide with urgency. "Hurry," she urged, pulling him inside just as the creature's growls faded into the distance. They collapsed inside the hollow tree, breathless and shaken. The forest was eerily quiet now, but they knew they couldn't let their guard down just yet. They had to move quickly to power up the communication device. "Do you think it will stay distracted?" Alex asked, his heart still racing. "It should," Zora replied, glancing cautiously outside. "But we need to be fast. Let's get the power cells connected." They quickly pulled out the cells and set them up beside the communication device. Zara took charge, her hands moving deftly as she connected the wires. Alex watched in awe, impressed by her confidence and skills. "Okay, this should work," Zara said, her voice steady. "Now, we just need to turn it on." Alex took a deep breath, ready to push the button. "Here goes nothing," he said, pressing the switch. The device hummed to life, a faint blue light glowing from its center. "We did it," Zora exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Now let's send out a signal," Alex said, feeling a rush of hope. They had a chance to call for help. Zara began tapping on the device's interface, her brow furrowing in concentration. "I'm trying to get a signal out, but it's weak. We need to boost the power." Alex glanced around, trying to think of anything that could help. "Maybe we can use another power cell, or connect the communication device to the ship's main power source." "That might work," Zara replied, her expression brightening. "If we can set it up properly, we could send a stronger signal." As they worked, Alex felt a wave of determination wash over him. They were not just survivors, they were fighters. They had come this far, and they would not give up now. With the communication device still humming, Zara quickly connected another power cell. "Let's hope this boosts the signal," she said, her fingers flying over the buttons. After a few tense moments, the device emitted a stronger pulse of light. "Yes, we're getting a signal," Zara shouted, her voice filled with excitement. "Can you send a distress signal?" Alex asked, his heart racing. "I'll try," she replied, focusing on the screen. As she worked, the atmosphere in the hollow tree shifted. They were no longer just hiding, they were fighting back. As they waited, Alex's thoughts drifted. They had survived against the odds, facing a deadly creature and the harsh environment. They were in an alien world, yet they were making progress. The strength of the bond between them grew deeper, and he felt grateful to have Zara by his side. "Now what?" Alex asked, turning to her. "We wait and hope for a response," she said, "and we need to keep our guard up. The creature might come back, and we need to be ready." The two of them settled in the hollow tree, alert and ready for whatever came next. They were in this together, and no matter the outcome, they would face it as a team. A glimmer of hope. As Alex and Zara huddled in the hollow tree, the silence of the forest enveloped them. The distress signal had been sent, but now they had to wait for a response. Each minute felt like an eternity, and the tension in the air was thick. Alex couldn't shake the feeling of vulnerability, knowing that the creature could return at any moment. "What if no one hears us?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Zara turned to him, her expression resolute. "They will hear us. We just need to be patient. Help is on the way." Her confidence was reassuring, but Alex could see the flicker of doubt in her eyes. Outside, the forest was eerily quiet. The growls of the creature had faded away, but that only heightened their sense of danger. The trees swayed gently in the wind, their leaves whispering secrets of the deadly world they were trapped in. "Do you think we'll be able to get off this planet?" Alex asked, glancing toward the entrance of the hollow tree. "What if the creature comes back?" "We can't think like that," Zara replied firmly. "We need to focus on the positive. We sent a signal, and now we wait." Alex nodded, though his heart raced with uncertainty. He knew Zara was right. Focusing on the negative would only drain their hope. They had to believe that rescue was coming. Suddenly, the communication device emitted a soft peep. Both of them jumped, eyes wide with anticipation. Zara rushed to the device, her fingers flying over the buttons. "I think we have a response," she exclaimed, her voice barely containing her excitement. The screen flickered, and words began to form. "I'm decoding it now." "What does it say?" Alex leaned in, trying to catch a glimpse of the message. "It's from a nearby ship. They heard our distress signal and are on their way." Zora's face lit up, her enthusiasm infectious. "Really? That's amazing." Alex felt a rush of relief wash over him. "How long until they get here?" Zora's fingers raced across the screen. "It looks like they're about an hour away. They're warning us about the dangers of the planet and telling us to stay hidden until they arrive." "An hour? That's not too long," Alex said, feeling a surge of hope. "But what if the creature finds us before then?" "We'll stay alert," Zora replied, determination filling her voice. "We can't let our guard down. We need to be ready for anything." They both settled back into the hollow tree, adrenaline coursing through their veins. Time seemed to stretch as they waited, each sound outside making them jump. The forest, once a beautiful place, now felt like a prison filled with unseen threats. To pass the time, Alex and Zora began to share stories about their lives before the crash. Zara spoke of her family, her childhood in a bustling city, and her dreams of exploration. Alex shared tales of his own adventures, his love for nature, and the thrill of discovering new places. "I always thought I would be an explorer," Zara said, her eyes shining with passion. "But I never imagined it would be like this." "Neither did I," Alex admitted, chuckling nervously. "I thought I'd be studying alien life, not running from it." Their laughter echoed softly in the hollow tree, a momentary relief from the tension. They knew they had each other, and together they could face whatever came next. Suddenly, they heard a rustling sound outside. The creature was back. Alex's heart dropped as he looked at Zora, their expressions mirroring the fear that gripped them. "What do we do?" he whispered, panic rising in his throat. "Stay quiet and low," Zora replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "We can't let it know we're here." They pressed against the cool bark of the tree, holding their breath as they listened. The growling grew louder, the sound of claws scraping against the ground sending chills down Alex's spine. The creature was prowling nearby, its presence a constant reminder of their precarious situation. "I hope it doesn't come inside," Alex murmured, his heart pounding in his chest. Zora nodded, her eyes wide with fear. "We need to wait for it to move away." As they held their breath, the creature's growls grew fainter. And for a moment, Alex dared to hope. But just as he thought they were in the clear, a loud crash echoed through the forest. The creature had knocked over a nearby tree, its frustration palpable. It began to stomp around, growling fiercely as it searched for its prey. "What if it finds us?" Alex whispered, his voice trembling. "We need to stay calm," Zora said, her grip tightening on his arm. "If we panic, we won't think clearly." Outside, the creature was becoming increasingly agitated, and Alex felt the fear gnawing at him. They couldn't stay hidden forever, and every second felt like a lifetime. Suddenly, the communication device beeped again. Zora looked at the screen, her expression shifting from fear to determination. "It's the ship. They're close." "What do they say?" Alex asked, his heart racing. "They're scanning the area for the creature. They'll be here soon, but we need to distract it," Zara replied, her voice filled with urgency. "Distract it how?" Alex's mind raced as he tried to think of a plan. "If we can throw something outside to get its attention, we might be able to draw it away from the tree," Zora suggested, glancing around the hollow tree for anything that could work. "I saw some rocks outside earlier. I could grab one and throw it far away," Alex said, his mind racing with possibilities. "Do it," Zora urged, her eyes locked onto the entrance. "Just be careful." With a deep breath, Alex nodded and slowly crawled toward the entrance of the hollow tree. He knew the risk he was taking, but their survival depended on it. He carefully peeked outside, scanning the area for the creature. It was still stomping around, distracted by the fallen tree. Alex took a quick glance around, spotting a few rocks nearby. He grabbed one, feeling the weight in his hand, and prepared himself to throw it. On the count of 3, Zora whispered, her voice steady despite the tension. 1, 2, 3. With all his strength, Alex threw the rock as far as he could. It landed with a loud thud, and the creature immediately turned, growling in curiosity. Now, back inside, Zora urged as they scrambled back into the hollow tree. They watched as the creature moved toward the sound, its attention fully drawn away from them. Heart racing, Alex felt a rush of adrenaline, realizing they had just bought themselves some time. It worked. Zora breathed, her eyes wide with excitement. Now we just wait for the ship. As they waited, they both felt a renewed sense of hope. They had faced danger and emerged stronger. They were ready for whatever came next, together. The rescue team. The minutes felt like hours as Alex and Zora huddled in the hollow tree, listening intently for any signs of the creature or the approaching rescue team. The creature had taken the bait, moving deeper into the forest in search of the rock Alex had thrown. They both felt a surge of relief, but it was mixed with anxiety. "I hope the ship gets here soon," Alex said, glancing at the communication device. It remained silent, but the anticipation of rescue filled the air. "I can't shake the feeling that the creature might come back." Zara nodded, her eyes scanning the entrance of the hollow tree. "We need to stay focused. If we keep our minds sharp, we can handle anything that comes our way." Just then, the device beeped again, startling them both. Zara immediately grabbed it, her heart racing. "It's the ship." "What does it say?" Alex asked, leaning closer. "They're only a few minutes away. They're sweeping the area for the creature," Zara replied, excitement bubbling in her voice. "They'd spotted it." "Really?" Alex felt a rush of adrenaline. "What will they do?" "They said they'll distract it and come for us as soon as they can. We just have to hold on a little longer," Zara explained, her eyes bright with hope. They could hear the faint hum of the ship approaching in the distance, growing louder with each passing second. The noise was a comforting reminder that help was near, but as they waited, they couldn't shake the feeling of dread that lingered in the air. "Do you think they'll be able to handle the creature?" Alex asked, worry creeping into his voice. "They've faced worse," Zara reassured him. "They're trained for this kind of thing. We just need to trust them." Suddenly, a loud roar erupted from outside, shaking the ground beneath them. The creature had returned, and its growls echoed through the forest like thunder. Alex and Zara exchanged fearful glances, their hearts pounding in their chests. "It's back," Alex whispered, panic rising in his throat. "Stay quiet," Zora hissed, pressing herself against the wall of the hollow tree. "We can't let it know we're here." They listened as the creature sniffed around, its growls growing louder. It was searching for them, its instincts sharp and deadly. Alex felt a wave of fear wash over him, but he couldn't let it take control. They had to stay calm. Outside, the hum of the ship grew louder, cutting through the growls of the creature. Zara's eyes widened with hope. "They're almost here. We just have to hold on." The creature began to stomp around, its massive body crashing through the underbrush. It was furious, clearly agitated by the ship's noise. Zara grabbed Alex's arm, squeezing it tightly. Just a little longer. Suddenly, the ship's lights cut through the darkness, illuminating the forest. The creature let out an ear-piercing roar, and Alex and Zara could see it moving erratically, confused by the sudden brightness. "There they are." Zora pointed toward the ship, her heart racing with excitement. "They're distracting it." The ship hovered just above the trees, its searchlights sweeping the area. Alex could see figures moving around, preparing for the rescue operation. The creature was fully focused on the ship, its attention drawn away from the hollow tree. "Now's our chance," Alex said, his adrenaline surging. We have to get out of here. Wait. We need to be careful, Zora cautioned. We don't want to run into the creature. They carefully crawled toward the entrance of the hollow tree, peeking outside. The creature was still thrashing about, trying to swipe at the ship as it hovered above. The noise of the engines and the bright lights seemed to agitate it further, and Alex could see it becoming increasingly frantic. "Let's go," Alex whispered, feeling the surge of bravery. "We can make it to the ship." Together, they darted out of the hollow tree, staying low to the ground as they moved. The lights from the ship guided their path, illuminating the way as they sprinted through the forest.